Hello gardening friends! So I just wanted to do an intro to this quick video I took yesterday. So yesterday was an overcast day and it was a beautiful day to kind of get out in the garden. Unfortunately I was in a car accident a few days ago, so I have a little bit of restricted range of motion and I can't do that much. So I was able to at least get out in the garden and do some deadheading. So I decided to just film some of that. So basically this video is showing me deadheading some of my David Austin roses. So I have a Crown Princess Margareta David Austin rose, which is a climbing rose. So that kind of blooms in sprays. So I deadheaded that. And the other one I have is a Gertrude Jekyll David Austin rose. And that's kind of a cross between a shrub and a climber. It's either a short climber or a large shrub, depending on how you prune it. So I deadheaded that one as well. And the last one was a David Austin Alnwick rose. So I deadheaded the Alnwick rose as well. And that one is much smaller. It's my more recent addition to the garden, so it had less work to do on it. But you know, we deadhead for various reasons. One of them, it just makes the whole rose bush look better. So it's for aesthetic reasons, just to take off those dead blooms and make your roses look so much nicer. The other reason is to encourage growth. So you want to encourage new blooms to come, fresh blooms, and deadheading actually does encourage that. And in this video, so what I did is I used like kind of narrow secateurs or pruners, hand pruners that can kind of get into little tight spaces. So especially with the climbing roses, I find they bloom in like kind of sprays. So it'll have one long branch and then I'll have like three tiny kind of stems and 3 roses or so coming off of that one branch. So you have to kind of get in there in like kind of surgical precision to cut off the dead bloom, because sometimes it'll be surrounded by either buds or really nice blooms that you don't want to deadhead. So that's what I do in this video, and then I end up finishing with some fertilizer because of course roses they are considered heavy feeders. So the more you feed them and take care of them, the more they'll reward you with better and bigger blooms. So that's what I've did. And you know, mid-June now, it's about around there. It's like kind of a lull in the blooming period for the roses. So it's a good time to fertilize to encourage more growth in the coming weeks. So I hope you enjoy, and here it is. So it was taken yesterday, which is why I'm, you know, in a jacket, because it was a little bit cooler yesterday. And also I do encourage everyone to wear long sleeves when you're working with roses, or have gloves that go up to your elbows, because the thornier roses can prick you, and of course that's never good. All right, enjoy. All right, so here you have a beautiful view of my Crown Princess Margareta rose. This is a David Austin variety, and you can see it's got these beautiful blooms. And what I do is, you can see up close that they bloom in clusters. So let me show you. So here's a good example. So there's multiple blooms on kind of one branch. It branches out like this and then has several blooms. So you can see there's buds, there's kind of this beautiful bloom right here, which is fresh. This one's a little bit aged, and you can see it's kind of bleached out a little bit. And then a bud phase. So really beautiful rose. So that one doesn't need any deadheading, but you could see that this one here does. That bloom is kind of finished. So what I do is I just take my snips, and for this particular rose I use kind of narrow nose or narrow secateurs, and then I just clip off the bud. I don't really look for any leaves or anything, because if you go down, you're going to clip off these two if you go down too far, which you don't want to do. You just want to cut off the dead bloom. So I just snip that off and then just collect them all, and that's it. Easy peasy. Alright, so we're done that one. That one's fairly easy to do. There wasn't that many spent blooms. And I do use these kind of leather gloves just because I'm going to do Gertrude Jekyll next, and she's very thorny. So I would suggest you use thick gloves. I did notice, actually, somebody told me that if you get pricked by a rose thorn, that you can actually get a bacteria, so it's not very good. So if you can avoid it, you should. I have thinner gloves, and you know, they're no match for the thorns on Gertrude Jekyll. So yes, get the right equipment. Thick leather gloves, and usually you want them kind of long sleeve, but I'm wearing long sleeves today, so I don't need that. But if you do want rose gloves, I would suggest you get them down to the elbow, because sometimes you have to get kind of deep in there. So here's my Gertrude Jekyll rose. You can see that it has a lot of nice blooms on it still, but a lot of that have passed kind of their best before date here. So those ones need to be deadheaded. I'll probably take these ones off too. You can see they grow in clusters as well, so I don't worry about leaves or anything like that. I usually just take off the deadhead ones that need to be cut down. Alright, so I finished deadheading, and I would keep thinking I'm finished and then seeing another one. But I think this is a good balance of taking off all the ones that are obviously past their prime, and then leaving some nice blooms on and making room for new blooms. So part of this is aesthetic. You can see the rose bush looks a lot nicer without all those dead blooms. But also it encourages the bush to keep producing new blooms as the season goes, because if you leave the dead blooms, they will turn into hips, and then the signal to the plant is that it's done its life cycle for the season. But if you deadhead, then the plant will keep up sending up blooms. And you can see that this plant is actually pretty healthy looking. Generally, there's no black spot really. I didn't do the best job pruning, so it's a little bit congested at the bottom. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. I do have something biting, chewing on the leaves here a little bit, but I don't spray, so I just leave it kind of natural. And that's the way I prefer it, but you can always spray for bugs if you like. So it's ready for its next flush of blooms. And you know, these kind of secateurs are really handy because they let you get into really tight spots. So if you're like trying to get one dead bloom in between this cluster, then it lets you be a little bit more surgical about it, which is nice. So that job is done for now. So here is my David Austin Alnwick Rose, and I thought I'd show you how I pruned this one. It's a little bit different because it's not a climber. So this one, I will just take the dead bloom and I follow it down to a set of leaves, which you can see there's 3 leaves here, and I go down to where there's a set of 5. So let's find a healthy set of 5 here. So I could go either here, this is set of 5, but I think I'll go a little bit lower down to this set of 5. So that's a set of 5 as well. So I will clip it right above here, and what that will do is it'll send a signal to send a branch out this way. So you can kind of control the direction and overall shape of your plant like that. So what I do is I just cut it right here, deadhead it that way, and I usually cut it on an angle, but I don't think it really matters. And that will kind of prune the bush and kind of give you control over the general size and shape. So here's another one. You can see here's a set of 5 leaves. So if I cut right above that, the branch will go this way, which I don't want. So I'm going to go down to this set of 5 and clip right above that, like that. So that'll send the signal to send the branch out this way. And you can do that on kind of these shrub bushes, rose bushes. And that generally is a good way to prune. And it doesn't really matter. You can just prune it any way you like. If you don't have time, you can just kind of chop it off anywhere. But that's generally the preferred practice that I think most people use. And one more note, you should be disinfecting these between rose bushes. So I haven't, because none of these rose bushes look like they have any issues. But if you do, definitely disinfect between rose bushes. That's good rose hygiene. And look behind here at my Canterbury bells. Isn't that beautiful, those Canterbury bells? So I've got the deep purple, the pink, and the lavender in the back there. Just lovely. These are biennial, so I winter sowed them and it took a long time to get these to bloom, so I'm happy to see them. Okay, so now that I have deadheaded all my rose bushes and they're looking much better, and any kind of yellow leaves I've taken off, but generally now is a good time to fertilize. It's almost mid-June, so they are actively blooming. They're putting a lot of energy into their blooms, so it's a good time to feed your roses. I'm not usually very good at doing that, fertilizing, but I try to just do it when I can, when I remember. And I just use whatever I have at hand. I don't have any kind of special product. If I happen to, see rose fertilizer on sale or something, I'll pick it up. But generally, this is what I have on hand right now. It is Miracle Grow Shake and Feed, and it's the Ultra Bloom. So this one is specifically for kind of flowering plants. So it helps your plants bloom better. So this one contains kelp, earthworm castings, feather meal, and bone meal. And it's a 10-18-9. So that's the formula. And it's supposed to feed for up to 3 months. So the kind of directions are on the back, and you can kind of use the ratio that they suggest on here. So they have a picture of a dime and kind of like what it's supposed to look like. So I just kind of eyeball it. So I'll just sprinkle it around kind of the base of the plant, and that's it. So easy to do and something to do when you remember. So after I fertilize, I'm gonna water everything in really nicely so everything has a nice drink, and hopefully we'll see more blooms shortly. I figured I'd show you just how this works. So it's super easy, and what you do is you just lift this lid here, this tab, and it goes up at a 90-degree angle, and it kind of controls the granules coming out. So I'll just show you. So you can use this on roses, on hydrangeas, on lilacs, and I have a little wee white hydrangea here. So I'll just show you how it just comes out. You can just shake it out like this, shake it over your plant, and that's it. So it's nice and easy fertilizer. It doesn't smell or anything like that, and it's very simple and straightforward. And you just close it until you need it again. Alright, so thank you so much for watching my video, friends. So that's how I deadhead my David Austin roses. It also applies to any other roses. Those are just the main ones that I have right now that needed deadheading. And of course, you do you. So this is just how I do it. There's lots of good videos, lots of good content on how to deadhead roses from people far more experienced than me. But this seems to work for me, and that's how I learned how to do it, is just by watching videos on YouTube from very experienced rosarians. And happy growing, and hope your roses are blooming beautifully. Thanks so much.